Right now, while you are sitting and watching this, your blood pressure could be silently working against you. Not next year. Not in a decade. Right now. Here is the number that should stop you in your tracks. In the UK, over 14 million adults are living with high blood pressure, and almost half of them have no idea. No symptoms. No warning. Just a number quietly climbing inside their arteries every single day. High blood pressure is responsible for over 75,000 strokes and heart attacks in Britain every year. That is 1 every 7 minutes. And the most dangerous thing about it, it does not hurt. It does not announce itself. It simply builds, silently, until one day, it does not have to announce itself anymore. If you are over 60, your risk is not the same as it was at 40. Your arteries have changed. Your kidneys process things differently. And the standard advice, cut salt, take this tablet, addresses only a fraction of what is actually driving your numbers up. Today, that changes. In the next 14 minutes, here is exactly what is going to happen. 7 proven, research-backed methods to lower blood pressure naturally, without relying entirely on medication. Methods that work specifically for adults over 60. Methods that start working within days, not months. No extreme diets. No expensive equipment. No gym membership. Just 7 specific changes, each one supported by clinical evidence, that your body can start responding to this week. And at the end, one simple action you can take tonight that research shows can drop your systolic reading by up to 8 points within 14 days. Stay until the end. That last one is the one most people never hear about. Before the 7 methods, it is worth understanding what is actually happening inside your body, because once you understand the mechanism, everything else makes complete sense. Think of your cardiovascular system as a network of pipes running through your home. When those pipes are flexible and wide, water flows through easily. Pressure stays low. Everything works the way it should. Now imagine those pipes slowly narrowing, stiffening. The water pressure inside them builds, not because more water is entering, but because the same amount of water is being forced through a smaller space. That is exactly what happens to your arteries as blood pressure rises. Your heart is the pump. Your arteries are the pipes. And blood pressure is simply the force that pump is generating to push blood through those pipes. When doctors measure 130/80, those two numbers tell a specific story. The top number, 130, is the pressure when your heart is actively pumping. The bottom number, 80, is the pressure when your heart is at rest between beats. For adults over 60, research now shows that a systolic reading consistently above 140 significantly increases stroke risk. But, and this is crucial, a reading pushed artificially below 120 through medication also causes serious problems. Dizziness, falls, kidney strain. The target is a natural, sustainable range. And that is exactly what these 7 methods support. Method 1. Sodium. The 1,500 milligram rule. Most people think sodium means the salt shaker on the table. It does not. 80% of the sodium the average British adult consumes comes from processed food, before a single grain of salt is added at the table. Bread, cereal, baked beans, supermarket ready meals, crisps, tinned soup, cheese. A single slice of supermarket bread contains up to 400 milligrams of sodium. 1 tin of baked beans, over 900 milligrams. A bowl of cornflakes, more sodium than a packet of crisps. The NHS recommends no more than 2,400 milligrams per day. But research published in the New England Journal of Medicine shows that adults over 60 with high blood pressure benefit most from targeting 1,500 milligrams or under. That is the number. 1,500 milligrams. And here is the fact that surprises most people. A study of 3,000 British adults found that those who switched from processed bread to lower sodium alternatives reduced their systolic blood pressure by an average of 4 points in 8 weeks. No other change. Just the bread. This week, check the sodium content on the 3 foods you eat most often. Just check. Awareness alone begins the change. Method 2. Potassium. Nature's antidote. Potassium is the antidote to sodium. Think of sodium and potassium as opposite ends of a balance. When sodium goes up, blood pressure goes up. When potassium goes up, blood pressure comes down. The kidneys use potassium to flush excess sodium out of the body through urine. The problem is this. Most adults over 60 consume far too little potassium and far too much sodium. The balance is completely off. Research shows that increasing potassium intake to 3,500 milligrams per day reduces systolic blood pressure by an average of 5 to 8 points in adults with hypertension. That is not a supplement. That is food. Bananas, 420 milligrams each. Sweet potatoes, 540 milligrams per serving. Spinach, 840 milligrams per cup. Avocado, 975 milligrams in half a fruit. And the surprising fact, a banana a day has been shown in clinical trials to reduce systolic blood pressure by up to 3 points after 12 weeks. One piece of fruit. 3 points. Add one high-potassium food to every meal starting tomorrow. Not a supplement. Real food. Method 3. Sleep. The 7-hour threshold. This one surprises people. Blood pressure does not stay constant throughout the day. In healthy adults, it naturally dips by 10 to 20% during sleep. This nocturnal dip allows the heart to rest and the arterial walls to recover. But in adults with poor sleep, under 6 hours consistently, that dip does not happen. Blood pressure stays elevated through the night. The heart gets no recovery window. By morning, it has been working at full pressure for 24 consecutive hours. A study published in the European Heart Journal tracked 47,000 adults over 5 years. Those sleeping fewer than 6 hours per night had a 20% higher risk of developing hypertension compared to those sleeping 7 hours or more. The threshold is 7 hours. Not 8. Not 9. 7 hours of quality sleep, where quality means uninterrupted, genuinely restorative sleep. And here is something most people do not connect. Waking more than twice per night to use the bathroom, a problem millions of seniors dismiss as normal aging, is directly associated with nocturnal hypertension. The two problems feed each other. Tonight, write down what time you get into bed and what time you wake. Just observe. Awareness of the actual sleep pattern is the first step. Method 4. Movement. 30 minutes and what it does to the arteries. Exercise does not just burn calories. It physically remodels the arteries. When the body engages in regular moderate aerobic movement, walking, swimming, cycling, the arteries gradually become more flexible. The endothelial lining, the inner wall of the artery, begins producing more of a compound called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide causes arteries to dilate. Wider arteries. Lower pressure. This is not a theory. The American Heart Association reviewed 93 clinical trials involving over 5,000 patients. Regular moderate exercise reduced systolic blood pressure by an average of 5 to 8 points. For adults over 60 with hypertension, the effect was even stronger, up to 11 points in some studies. The dose that produces this effect. 30 minutes of moderate intensity walking, 5 days per week. Not running. Walking. Brisk enough to slightly increase breathing, but still able to hold a conversation. And the fact that changes everything for seniors who find a long walk difficult. A 2023 study found that breaking those 30 minutes into 3 10-minute walks throughout the day produced the same reduction in blood pressure as one continuous 30-minute session. Tomorrow morning, walk for 10 minutes. Just 10. The habit begins before the goal. Method 5. Magnesium. The deficient mineral. 68% of UK adults over 60 are clinically deficient in magnesium. Magnesium is essential for the smooth muscle function of artery walls. Without adequate magnesium, those walls cannot relax properly. They remain in a state of mild constriction. Permanently elevated pressure. A meta-analysis of 34 randomized controlled trials showed that magnesium supplementation reduced systolic blood pressure by an average of 4.2 points and diastolic by 2.1 points, with the greatest effect seen in people who were deficient to begin with, which is most people over 60. The form matters enormously. Magnesium oxide, the cheap version sold in most pharmacies, is poorly absorbed. Magnesium glycinate is the form with the highest bioavailability and the least likelihood of causing digestive side effects. And here is the surprising part. The foods highest in magnesium, pumpkin seeds, dark leafy greens, almonds, dark chocolate, are almost entirely absent from the average British senior's diet. Most deficiency is not caused by any medical condition. It is caused by what is on the plate. Add a small handful of pumpkin seeds or almonds to the daily routine. Before considering a supplement, spend 2 weeks improving dietary magnesium first. Method 6. Stress. The cortisol connection. This is not about meditation retreats or expensive wellness programs. It is about a hormone called cortisol and what happens when it stays elevated too long. When the body experiences stress, the adrenal glands release cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones cause the heart to beat faster and the arteries to narrow, an ancient survival response designed to help you run from danger. The problem is that for many adults over 60, the danger never fully disappears. Financial concerns, health worries, family pressures, sleep disruption. The cortisol system stays active at a low level, chronically. And chronically elevated cortisol keeps blood pressure chronically elevated. A study from University College London tracked 4,000 adults and found that those with the highest chronic stress levels had systolic readings 6 points higher on average than those with lower stress, independent of diet, exercise, and medication. 6 points. From stress alone. The most effective stress reduction technique for reducing blood pressure in clinical trials is not yoga or mindfulness. It is slow, controlled breathing. Specifically, 6 breaths per minute. Inhale for 5 seconds. Exhale for 5 seconds. Research from the University of Arizona found that 15 minutes of this breathing pattern daily reduced systolic blood pressure by 5 points over 8 weeks. And the fact most people find remarkable. The relaxation response triggered by slow breathing is measurable in blood vessels within 90 seconds. Arterial diameter increases. Cortisol begins to drop. The effect starts immediately, not in weeks. Tonight, 5 minutes before bed, breathe in for 5 seconds and out for 5 seconds. Set a timer. Begin tonight. Method 7. Dark chocolate and green tea. The evidence-based extras. This is the one most people do not expect. Dark chocolate, specifically chocolate containing at least 70% cocoa, contains compounds called flavonols. Flavonols stimulate the production of nitric oxide in arterial walls. The same mechanism as exercise. The same result, dilated arteries, lower pressure. A meta-analysis of 20 clinical trials found that dark chocolate consumption reduced systolic blood pressure by an average of 2 to 3 points in adults with hypertension. Green tea contains a compound called EGCG, which has been shown to reduce blood pressure through a similar nitric oxide pathway. A review of 24 trials found that regular green tea consumption reduced systolic pressure by an average of 1.8 points. Neither of these is a replacement for the other 6 methods. But both are supported by evidence. And both are genuinely enjoyable additions to a daily routine, which matters for long-term consistency. 1 square of dark chocolate, 70% cocoa minimum, and 1 cup of green tea per day. That is it. No more required to get the documented effect. Before moving on, an important note. If currently taking blood pressure medication, please do not stop or adjust any dose based on anything in this video. These 7 methods work best alongside medical care, not instead of it. The goal is to give the body every natural advantage so that medication can work more effectively. If a reading is consistently above 160/100, please contact a GP this week. That level requires medical evaluation. Everything shared here is backed by peer-reviewed research. But individual situations require individual medical guidance. 7 methods. Each one proven. Each one actionable this week. But here is the most important thing. Do not try to do all 7 at once. The research on habit formation is clear. Adults who attempt multiple major lifestyle changes simultaneously maintain almost none of them at 90 days. Adults who begin with 1 change, establish it, then add a second, maintain 75% of their changes at 12 months. 1 change. This week. Pick the one that feels most manageable. For most people, it is the sodium check, just reading the labels on the 3 foods eaten most. That awareness alone begins shifting the pattern. Next week, add potassium. The week after, the breathing. Layer them slowly. Build the architecture of better blood pressure over 8 weeks, not 8 days. The numbers that matter most from everything covered today. 1,500 milligrams, Sodium target per day for adults over 60 with hypertension. 3,500 milligrams. Potassium target per day. 7 hours, minimum sleep for the nocturnal blood pressure dip. 30 minutes, or 3 10-minute walks, 5 days per week. 70%, minimum cocoa content in dark chocolate. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, the breathing pattern that reduces cortisol. 8 weeks, the time frame in which most of these changes show measurable results. Up to 11 points, the systolic reduction possible through lifestyle changes alone in adults over 60. 11 points. That is the difference between a reading that requires medication and one that does not. A specific note for different situations. For adults over 65 with kidney disease, the potassium guidance changes. High potassium can be problematic when kidneys are not clearing it efficiently. Check with a GP before significantly increasing potassium-rich foods. The sodium reduction still applies and is highly beneficial. For those on a beta blocker, the exercise response may feel different. Heart rate will not increase as expected. Use perceived effort rather than heart rate to gauge intensity. Brisk walking where breathing is slightly increased is the right zone. For those managing both high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes, the sleep method is doubly important. Poor sleep worsens insulin resistance, which worsens blood pressure. The two conditions reinforce each other. Improving sleep addresses both simultaneously. Here is what matters most at the end of this. Blood pressure is not a life sentence. It is a signal. A signal that the body needs different inputs, different food, different movement, different sleep, different rest. And the body at 60, at 70, at 80, it still responds. Perhaps more slowly than at 30. But it responds. The arteries can still regain flexibility. The cortisol system can still be calmed. The potassium-sodium balance can still be corrected. The research is consistent on this. Adults over 65 who implement sustained lifestyle changes see blood pressure reductions comparable to those seen in younger adults. Age does not close the door on improvement. It just means the changes need to be smarter, more targeted, and more consistent. 7 methods. 1 at a time. 8 weeks. The person who begins tonight is in a genuinely different position than the person who waits until next month. Begin tonight. Leave just one number in the comments, the top number from the last blood pressure reading, if it is known. Just that one number. And if this has given something useful, something that did not come up at the last GP appointment, please share it with one person who needs it. One link. 30 seconds. The information is here. The change begins with the next decision.